Hello and welcome back to the Waffle House. This is a weekly podcast with two brothers, myself, Joe, and my brother Dan. Say hi, Dan.
Hey,
We talk random shit about a little bit of everything. So, um, nothing we say is advice, and there's also a straight up front spoiler warnings for a movie we're going to talk about, and also a spoiler warning on uh, uh, the travel
on the
area.
news.
Yeah, on travel, spoiler on the news, spoiler on the lottery numbers.
Yeah, yeah,
Would be good. Yeah, Dan, how have you been?
yeah. I've been good. I've been good. Yes, I think you and I both probably caught up and watched the Snyder cut on what? Let me think.
Yes.
Well, within we both watched it within the last 3 days. The 3 days I think it took us both to actually start and finish it. I'm assuming.
No, so I actually, yeah, so we're gonna do the Justice League Snyder cut, and then we're gonna talk about travel in China, I think. And
Mm,
if there's time, we'll talk about some fitness, but wait and see. But yeah,
yeah.
the Snyder cut. So it came out last week. I think it was like last Thursday or something. And I watched it on the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, but I actually just watched it on a Saturday, so I got up early because it's like 3 hours 50 minutes. It's a long movie.
Mm,
Yeah, I got up early, watched like 2 hours of it, and then had a break, and then watched like an hour, then another hour or something like that.
sure.
I had stuff, it's a pandemic. I had stuff to do, but yeah. So it took me about a day to watch it, and I think it's a shame in a way because maybe it's better to watch it like all in one flow. I always find sometimes when you stop and start movies, it's harder to get into it, but
Mm,
I mean, it's too long. It's too long to sit watch in one sitting.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and how about you? How did you watch it?
Yeah, so I did it in I actually did it in 2 days. I was surprised. I thought I was going to cut it up more, but I did it in 2 days. And I pretty much did it in first 2 hours, and then the next day I did the second 2 hours. Um, but I on the first day I did 1 hour, and I probably had like a 15-minute break in between, and then
You
came
wouldn't
back
normally
to
do
it.
that on a movie, though, would you?
No, it's but you have the option, I guess. That's yeah. No, you wouldn't. Um,
Why? Because of the parts, like part one.
Yeah, well, yeah. So to be fair, in a way, Zack Snyder, because of the way he made it by putting part one and part two, part three, part four, he gave me that opportunity. I don't. Maybe I wouldn't have paused and taken such a long break, but he let the viewers know, I think, or the audience know that the
Yeah,
next segment's going to be quite different, and it's classed as a different chapter. So it's almost like a book. I just thought, well, you know what, I'm going to just get some. I'm going to stretch and take a break. So that's
yeah.
why I did it. I think that's why I did it like
I'm
that.
taking about a 3 year break from the last time I read a book, so it's, I totally get it. It's a good it's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. So what were your initial thoughts?
So okay, I guess you have to start off by giving like a very high level summary of what you thought of the first one, the original one, the whatever it's called, theatrical cut.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just really crap, like terrible, awful movie, start to finish. Loads of cheesy lines, weird acting.
Mm,
The CG, like the recut CG stuff, I think that's just unfortunate. But like I think there were like really weird and unnecessary story points,
mm.
and yeah, just quite a bit of a mess to be honest. I didn't really, actually, genuinely didn't enjoy it. For someone who likes DC Comics characters, I thought it was a bit of a mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Okay. Yeah. So if we're talking about the theatrical cut, Joss Whedon's sort of patch up of
I think it's Whedon.
oh, is it? Yeah, I thought that what well, I watched it on the airplane, so that was a tricky one. I'm not sure how fair that is to sort of review the action when you're watching an
Mm.
action film on an airplane compared to when you're watching it in the cinema or on a bigger screen at home. But I quite agree with you though. I find it hard to watch.
The
And
original.
being on the airplane, it was more of I need to do this because I can't sleep on the airplane sort of thing. I trudged, yeah, I did get through it, but I didn't enjoy it. The filter, I've heard other people talk about when they sort of criticize the red
The
filter that
filter.
was used. Yeah, kind of strange that theatrical cut. Um,
Oh right. Do you mean visually
and
they had a red filter?
yeah,
Oh right. Okay. I didn't even
which
notice
is
that.
yeah, it seemed to be a thing. There was a lot of talk as well, and I guess it's quite noticeable of how um, it was quite lighthearted. and that might be Joss Whedon's
Yeah.
sort of style. And I don't know if it's the Disney part of him working with Avengers, if that just sort of creeps over into his work or something. But and then the villain was, I thought, terrible. The design and his motives. He was just so bleh. Steppenwolf.
Yeah, totally boring and just not interesting as a villain, right?
Yeah, so that was what I thought of the theatrical. So if we move into Snyder, so what did you make of Snyder at first watch?
Well, yeah, okay. So starting off with where you left off, Steppenwolf, so much more interesting, so much better. He
Mm,
was like he was a more interesting character because he was less confident and self-assured. Like the previous Steppenwolf was just, I'm the bad guy and fear me, I'm going to take over the world and you're not going to stop me, puny
yeah.
humans. Whereas the new guy was like, yeah, he started off like that, and you think, okay, cool. He looks different for a start. So he actually looks like just not a man with a weird helmet on. He actually looks like some sort of monster. That's cool.
Mm,
He had this like a little bit of a copy of the bad guy from Thor, the original Thor movie, where the big iron machine thing walks in, like in chainmail.
yeah.
Do you
Yeah, I know
remember
what you mean. Yeah,
where he
yeah.
destroys that like random village in the middle of nowhere that
Yeah.
basically looked like a very cheap set? But yeah, so the armor looked like a bit of a copy of that, or similar to that anyway. And I thought that was way better. So looks wise, loads better. But then also he started off a little bit, similar in terms of I'm the big bad guy. But he also you saw his motives for why he was doing it.
Mm,
He was trying to earn his way back into the good books. He was previously like well respected. He's lost his position and title, and he's fearful. And there's loads of politics going on about who he's trying to appease, and trying to get himself into a place of he's doing this for selfish reasons. He's not just a
yeah.
complete megalomaniac. He's got a personal goal and ambition, and also you saw him being like subservient to other people, like his seniors and his bosses, and you saw like looks of fear in his face,
Mm.
which made him way more interesting. He was like he was not a perfect bad guy. He was no like I think
Yeah.
Thanos is an incredible bad guy, but he was not a perfect bad guy, but he was a way better bad guy.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of raises the stakes if they, yeah, if they add a bit of, if they add a layer of emotion to a villain. It either lets you empathize a little bit, which is strange because it's the villain, but also yeah, it just gives some stakes because he had to, yeah, he had some different motives behind what he was doing, and yeah, he feared his sort of I want to say line manager. I don't know, but yeah, he feared.
He's like
But
manager. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, he had a part to play. He wasn't just the balls out main villain, which was what it was made out in Joss Joss Whedon's vision, which was sort of wrong. Yeah, so yeah, they definitely got a lot more out of that character, and I would say, and then a load more out of Cyborg, which was
Oh right, yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool
yeah.
actually.
So yeah, I thought cyborg. Is that right?
Cyborg,
Cyborgs?
pretty sure. Yeah,
Okay,
pretty sure.
cyborg. Yeah, I agree. He was a lot better. I, a lot of people were raving about how much better Cyborg is in this movie than he was in the first. I still didn't find him massively relatable and interesting,
Mm,
but there were some bits, like for example, his dad died, which was different from the first
yeah.
version, and that was a bit better, I suppose, because it just gave him it gave him a motive. It gave him like that rage, gave him that anger. The other thing that's cool with Cyborg as well is that they I feel like I can't remember if they ignored this in the first one or not, but the Flash and Aquaman had a conversation where they were talking about like whether or not he's okay and should they talk to him and that type of stuff. They were actually kind of like,
Yeah.
I know maybe this is a little bit fluffy and nice for you, but I thought it was cool. They actually just like were like, he doesn't seem all right. Like he seems like he needs some help. He seems whatever.
Mm,
That felt like a better conversation, a more interesting conversation. And then there's
mm.
another bit where Cyborg talks to Aquaman and he's like, "Oh, I didn't think you cared." I can't remember. It was like after that conversation. It's on the similar vein. He's like, Aquaman was like, "Well, I didn't say that. Never
Yeah,
said I didn't
yeah,
care.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm not a complete arsehole."
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I remember that conversation between, yeah, Flash and Aquaman. Yeah, they made
Oh, and
him
they cut that scene. Oh, go on. Sorry, Karen.
But they know that they just made it. They just made them more. They just made them all a bit deeper, and it's like I think in the first film it's hard to remember because I've only watched it once, but the theatrical release, they were just superheroes who were just assumed everyone was this role and this and that and that. The only mystery man was like how Batman was, and they were, ooh, I wonder what he's like. But no, everyone was in sync. Otherwise, everyone else was in sync. So, which meant I think that Snyder didn't get his way, obviously, because he didn't get to finish it. So he didn't get to manage the rest of their stories. So yeah, they dealt with that way better in Snyder Cut.
They also cut out that stupid scene with Aquaman sat on the lasso of truth or whatever it's called, where he in the first movie he confesses that he's like, you know, attracted to Wonder Woman and he's scared and he doesn't know if he's got it in him, yada yada yada, and then he stands up.
I can't remember that.
Then he stands up and he's like holding it the lasso and goes, "Oh God, how annoying! I've been made to talk about my feelings." It's like,
right.
it was just lame. It was just a bit lame to us. It was like a lame way. It was a lame joke. It wasn't very funny. Like, I think he acted it really well. Jason Momoa, he acted it really well. But I mean, it's hard to do anything particularly interesting with that. You know, spewing your heart and guts out in quite a serious moment, or what could have been quite a serious moment.
Yeah. Was that Amazonian War? Was that in the original?
It was really short though. It was cut down.
Okay, because that was interesting.
Yes.
I didn't think
it was cool,
I would like that much, but it was actually it was good.
It was really good. Yeah. One thing I remember, this is the same as the first movie, but the one thing I remember watching, you know, when they get the mother box, their cube out of the original chamber where they're keeping it.
Yeah.
And you see there's a bunch of like Amazonian guards guarding the tunnel.
Yeah.
And they use their hammers to smash down some sticks. They actually whack some
logs
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
To set the door shut. Yeah. I remember the first movie thinking, oh my God, those women are absolutely ripped, like insanely good, like good shape. So then I found out, I think I heard it on a review that they use CrossFitters. They use like the world champion CrossFitters just for that one scene, because they all had like massive arms, like really strong legs and like 25 abs.
Yeah.
So, and then anyway, I thought I was quite cool, and they kept that bit in. Yeah, no, I thought that scene was a lot better. It was way more interesting. And they did a lot more with it as well. They showed like more of the battle. It was a bit more of I don't know if they changed the race. You know, when like Steppenwolf was trying to get the mother box off them and they're running away with a horse. Did they make that longer and better?
I thought
better,
they did.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right, because I know the battle there's the battle as well with all the old gods and stuff. They showed a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I think that was extended. It looked like it was. It just seemed a lot better. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, I'm pretty sure this was in the original as well. But one thing I thought that they could have done with just maybe cutting was or changing is the way that the Amazonian sort of race communicate with Wonder Woman by
the arrow.
Means that's like their only means. Like really, seems really odd. But maybe they're sticking to the comic book. Maybe that really was the only way. Another bit of fan service that I've kind of read. I read this before the Snyder Cut was released because I don't know if you know this, but Zack Snyder, he's not very good at keeping secrets, but he was letting loads and loads of clips and snippets out before he even released this. But he showed that he had Superman in the black outfit, and that was going to be his thing. And then when he got the green light, he was like, yeah, this is definitely happening. And he did, and he went and done it. But some of the criticism is that that suit is only really used in the comics when he's lost his powers, and he uses it because it helps him harness and keep his energy. It's something to do with that material, or something to do with that color and that material for Kryptonians or whatever. And at the same time, he would have had a mullet, because he had a mullet in the comic.
Oh my God, really?
And had a mustache and a mustache and beard because of all the time that had passed. When they brought him back, he was just recovering and he was just in a state. So I was thinking, well then, if that's the case, then why couldn't Joss Whedon just keep his damn mustache in the original?
That's a really good point.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, just added a beard to it.
Yeah,
Just put a
yeah,
fake
yeah.
beard on him and then be like,
Well,
"Oh, I'm
that's the
back."
thing. Even in Mission Impossible, he had he had a little bit of a beard. It was more of a prominent mustache, but the beard did come with it. So I think Joss Whedon was just I don't know. I think he was just angry and like, oh, I'm going to make a massive change here. But my only criticism of Zack Snyder is that when bringing the black outfit back, you can't then have him as powerful as he was, because he only, by comic book rule, he only has that outfit when he's weak,
When he's weaker. Yeah.
and
No, that's a good
he
point.
was not
I
weak
didn't
in
know that.
this film.
I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know that.
So that was one thing that I picked up on. But generally, though, I quite enjoyed it.
Did you have any other? Me too. I really enjoyed it. But did you have any other like criticisms? Any other bits you're like, what the hell is going on
Um,
there? I've got a
yeah.
couple.
So if we're fast forwarding to the end though, but
Okay.
I was aware that Jared Leto was going to make a small appearance or cameo. When I saw the photo, it might have been on YouTube, just in a thumbnail of his image. He looked kind of cool
Mhm.
actually. They got rid of those tattoos and his hair's different and everything. Um, his voice is better as well, and I think actually his acting's better. They've just dialed him down a bit, and he's quite sort of sinister and cool. But he kind of reverted in his 3 minute conversation with Batman. He kind of, I felt, reverted back to sort of childish ways he was in Suicide Squad. So I guess that's just how he was written. Unless he's got all the power and they're just like, yeah, Jared, do what you want. I don't know, but
Yeah.
he lost it. He lost it a bit for me. He was cool for about a minute and a half, and then the other minute and a half he just turned into a weirdo again. And I was like,
I
okay, this guy's buffoon.
Jared Leto I think is a really good actor. But I struggle with his Joker.
Yeah,
Not sure what it is about his Joker for me. I'm not sure. For me, it's not like it doesn't really work that well. But
mm.
I don't know what it is. It's really hard to describe. He doesn't seem. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. It's really hard to hard to put my finger on, but it just doesn't feel right. When you see like certain people play Joker or comic book Joker, they all seem to be thereabouts. But
Yeah,
there's something about the the Snyder Joker, the Jared Leto Joker that doesn't quite work for me.
doesn't sit well. Yeah, yeah, no, but fair enough. I guess at least as well, it only took up about 3 minutes, about 3 minutes of 4 hours
A long
and
film.
7 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
There were a bunch of scenes they could have cut though. They could have cut like the Barry saving the Flash saving his girlfriend type things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
And then there's a few other things I found a bit weird. So I'll run through them, right? So do you remember the scene when Wonder Woman's at the beginning and she's saving the kids from the bank robber?
Yeah, yeah,
So she, obviously they're gonna blow up a massive square area, blah 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 blah. Saves it. She's down to this one guy.
mm,
This one guy shoots his entire magazine of rounds
yeah,
across the line of kids, and she goes around and saves them. And it looks way better because not everything's in slow mo. Like that they actually sped some of those bits up,
yeah,
so you could see in real time how fast she was moving. That was really cool. Like she was like super fast, nailing it, and they did a bit of slow mo too. But she then let him stand there, reload, point the gun back at her before she did anything to stop that one guy. She'd already stopped like the 20 other guys in that room and got rid of the
yeah,
bomb. So the bomb's gone and the guy's gone. He's just got one gun, which she can prove. She's already proved she can like jump in front of the bullet. There's no problems there.
yeah.
But she decides to use her bracelets and blow out the entire floor of that. Like the whole floor goes out. All the walls, everything is blown up for
Yeah,
that last one guy. That doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah.
And
I mean,
she clearly killed him. So why wouldn't you arrest him? Why wouldn't you like go? You
yeah,
could have arrested him and said you could have
yeah,
not damaged the building. That you're a architect, museum sort of I don't know, curator.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
That was weird for me. So that was one thing I was I couldn't get my head around. I was like, that's an overreaction.
Mm.
Then there's another bit when I think is it Aquaman? Yeah, Aquaman. They're in the tunnel and they're doing that escape, and the waters come in,
Yes, yes.
and he's trying to save them from water. Why didn't he do just one of his water bubbles? Because they can create water bubbles, can't they?
Oh.
They use the water bubbles
Yeah.
to talk in. So why didn't you just create a water bubble for them to go around them and to
Okay.
create a water bubble?
True. Yeah. My first thought is maybe when you make a bubble, you can't walk with it.
Yeah, but it gives them a bit of time
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of
True.
pissing around with what they did.
It would seem like yeah, because Aquaman seemed like he was like absolutely tensing to keep that water behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. So yeah, okay. If he went over to them, did a water bubble, but I'm wondering.
And then you can
I'm
swim really
expecting.
quickly. Just hold your breath. Hold your breath for 30 seconds. I'll grab this guy. I'll be back in 20 seconds.
Yeah. Well,
You can
well,
swim real fast.
what about this? What if it was really hot water?
And what? And he was cooking.
I know, and he thought, oh, they're not gonna want to swim through this. This is some really hot, salty water. No, I don't. No, I'm with you. I'm just
As in
thinking.
he'd peed.
Yeah, maybe. No, but like, as in, what if? Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just trying to think if there's anything
I
I
couldn't
can.
figure it out. I mean, I'm sure there is a good reason. If
Yeah,
there is, like, tell us and tell me in the comments, like, why he didn't do that. I'd love to know. The other thing I'd like to know, if someone can tell me the reason for this in the comments, is once the Flash found out he could rewind time,
yeah,
because you know when the first time he had to like go near the speed of light to touch the mother box to bring Superman back to life, he was going down that corridor.
yeah,
The box was falling down, and then all of a sudden it was rising back up because he was going so fast that he was reversing time.
yeah,
Which I don't really understand that, but whatever. Um, Once you figured out that was like game over for the movie. You can go back in time.
yeah.
I
Well,
was I thought that was a bit weird.
I think they were gonna. I think they plan to get into that in the next film. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not, but there was that vision of I think this happened in Batman v Superman. There was a
Right.
vision where the Flash just sort of cuts into the Batcave and talks to Bruce Wayne,
Oh
and
yeah,
he was
yeah,
from the future.
yeah.
So I think they were going to try and get into that a bit more later.
Hopefully
I
that pays off.
don't particularly like it when travel gets involved, time travel
Time
gets
travel.
involved, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's a bit of a weird one. There's always these loopholes, but they did it in
To end it,
Avengers as well. Yeah.
so to end this on a positive, the one thing I did like, it was like something I noticed that I preferred in this movie was that Lois, like in the previous movie when Superman was bad, Lois Lane basically, I think Batman said, bring out the big guns, and basically they just like held Lois Lane out as bait, as in front of Superman to be like, stop fighting us. Here's just thrust her into
Oh yeah.
Superman's path
Oh
and bring
right.
out the
Yeah.
big guns, like she was a pawn basically, like she was like being used as a
Yeah. Yeah.
as a pawn in the situation. Whereas in this one, at least, it was like Batman was getting his ass kicked. He's on his knees, like literally. He'd used both of his gauntlets to like absorb the power. Smashed up against the police car, and then Lois just takes on upon herself. She's like, "Oh no, fuck this! Enough of this!" Jumps in front and actually then stops Batman for Batman. Stops Spider Man. Stops Superman. Stops Superman. Stops the Hulk. Stops Iron Man. Stops Thor. Stops everyone. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to see it. It's an amazing crossover.
Stop Disney, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, but she stops like Superman through through her own like impetus. She does it on it, like that was her own idea to go in and just do that, and that worked better
Yeah.
for me. I was like, yeah, okay, you've not made her such a stupid, boring character. You've actually given her something to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah. That's fair.
Like a subtle difference, but it was just a better bit.
Yeah, he was quite vulnerable, Batman, throughout the film. Actually, not that scene's one of those for sure. That's one example. But there's another example where they're all teaming up just before Superman joins them. It might just be a little bit later on, actually, where they're all doing their thing, and he's got to use the Batmobile. He's got to use a spaceship, and then when his spaceship's kind of blown up, they're all like, "Oh my god!" I think they're all really worried about him. They're all really concerned about him when they're talking on these like walkie-talkies. So it's like almost behind his back. They're like, "Is he all right? Is he good?" I don't know if he's good. I found that quite funny, but
Yeah.
maybe that's realistic because he is the one with the least powers. His joke is,
And he's the oldest, right?
I'm rich. That's the
well, maybe he's not technically the oldest, obviously.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think we found out that
Wonder Woman's pretty old, right?
4,000 years old. Something like that.
Yeah. But like he's like in his 50s, whatever. It makes sense they actually worry about him because it doesn't make sense that he's out there. So
yeah.
No, I didn't pick up on that, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
How many stars do you give it compared to the old one? So I'd give the old one like 2.5.
Oh, out of 5. I'm assuming these are.
Oh yeah, sorry, out of 5. Yeah,
5-star review. You know what? I'll give it. I'm gonna go give it a 4.
Yeah, I'd say I think that's I'm pretty close to that. I'm like 3.5, 4. I'll agree with you.
Yeah,
I'll go 4.
It's a world apart from
yeah, for sure.
release.
It makes me more excited to watch the future movies
Yeah.
whereas the
Yeah.
previous
Yeah.
one didn't.
Yeah. That be true. Okay. So yeah. That's Snyder done. How about
Snyder reviewed.
yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Reviewed.
So we're going to talk about travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So for background,
go ahead.
you've traveled quite a bit around China.
Yeah.
You lived there for a while. I don't know if people don't know that. I'm sure they don't.
Yeah,
You lived in
we might have
China.
mentioned that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
When
might
we
have
talking
done.
about the battery talk, actually, but yeah, yeah. So I did, and to be fair, so I've done a bit of traveling there with you, but I've 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 done some by myself, and then also with other people. But there was one place in particular I just felt like reviewing. As I've told you about this a little bit, but I just felt like talking about it on the
I don't
podcast.
really remember you talking about this place too much, but
Okay,
it's Xi'an. Is that how you
yeah,
pronounce it? And is that the Mandarin pronunciation?
sure. We can, yeah,
You
we
said
can say
sure. You
that.
said sure like it wasn't. Sure it
Um,
is, Joe.
So Xi'an, yeah, Xi'an is
Okay, and it's spelled in English. You'd spell it XI
phonetically, yeah, it'd
space
be
IAN.
XI apostrophe AN,
Okay,
and it's
Xi'an.
just for reference, it's in Shanxi province.
And where is
Um,
that? Like I know where Hong Kong is. So Hong Kong's right at the bottom in the middle
righty. So it's
of China.
basically, when you look at the map of China, it's in, I'd say, the if you're looking from south to north, it's kind of like in the third quarter of it's three quarters way up in the middle by
What?
yeah, I'm not doing well here. Uh it's pretty north. Everyone I talk to
Okay,
classes
so
it as North China, but
so it's further north than it is south. Like if from the
yeah,
middle,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
go half up again. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. So it's about three quarters up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
China,
That's a
because
good way of describing it.
China's kind of like heart shaped if you look at the map. So it's quite difficult
Yeah.
to describe exactly where it is.
Okay.
But yeah, it's yeah, it's like
left to right. Is it kind of central?
yeah, yeah. That's what I was getting at when I said the central bit.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, so that's my
Nah.
review.
3 stars.
Um, so yeah, it's a really cool place. So I'm typically
Why?
in Hong Kong area, which is South China, Guangdong sort of area, and
So
that
how would
place
you
is
describe?
typically
Sorry. Yeah. Go on. I think you're about to say that, but I was wondering how do you compare that with the rest of China? Like, what's this? What's the south part of China like in
yeah,
comparison with the rest of China?
yeah. It's way too hot in the summer and still a bit too hot in the spring and the winter. It's that type of place. It's nice, but it's just a bit too warm and then too hot in the summer when it's really hot.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievably humid, quite wet. So those places they're lovely,
That's
but
just the weather, though. I mean, what's it like in terms of
um
stuff to do? Is it like it's quite westernized? I mean, I've
yeah.
been there a few times.
Well,
Well,
yes,
when I
I'd
say
say
westernized is a bad way of saying it, but it's got lots of like it's a modern, boring city like
yeah.
a lot of other places. And boring is not fair to say.
It's very it's very developed. To be fair,
Yeah.
it's quite developed. I mean, China's that sort of funny place where it's a little bit like how America's populated in the far west and the far east, and then China's kind of developed and populated in the far south, being the place I've mentioned, and then the
Mhm.
far north being Beijing, and then kind of Shanghai included. So everything
Okay.
in the middle is almost like untapped. Well, it seems that way to foreigners, at least I should say.
Yeah.
So this place, Xi'an, it's regarded as north-ish, but it's not near a big city or anything like that. And it's not that developed. It is a little bit touristy, but that's fine.
What drew you there? Like, if you're visiting China and if you're thinking of going to China and you're listening to us talking, all of a sudden this guy's talking about some place that's like 3/4 of the way up in the middle, and it's not
Right.
part of the major north or major south population centers. What was
Well,
your draw to go there?
well, here's the thing. The crazy thing was the draw was well, it was families suggesting, oh, got to go and see these terracotta war soldiers, it's the terracotta underground army. You've got to go and see. God, that's got to be done. And I kind of rolled my eyes and dragged my feet at that idea. I wasn't that interested in that idea. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But but so obviously I thought to myself, I've got to find other things that can't be the only thing that I go to a place for and
I don't
spend a
want to
week.
travel all the way there because I imagine it took a long time from where you were in Suncheon or Shenzhen.
Yeah, it was about 2.5 hours flight. Not too bad.
Oh, you flew. Okay, that's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
about
Okay,
two and a half
I thought
hours
maybe you get
flight.
the train or something. Okay, so yeah, it's
No.
still a way away.
So it was one of those. It's one of these gems where, yeah, you turn up, you see these terracotta soldiers. It's kind of like cool. Okay, this is all right. This is all right. But there's no moment in China where it's quiet. Where when you go and see a touristy place, so it's just kind of havoc. When that bit was done,
And it was the same
24.
there. It was really busy there too.
Yeah, a bit overcrowded. It was cool to see them, cool to tick it off, but it felt partially like a bit of a chore. It just felt like I'm just ticking something off, sort of thing. When that was done, that's 24 hours in Xi'an, and then the next day was just awesome. It was going downtown, and there was a few things I'd listed off the internet with some sort of TripAdvisor tips and things, but it was going down to the downtown and just seeing the actual town center, and it was amazing because little did I know that their city center is sort of it's surrounded by these like old ancient walls, and these walls are like they're big. They're about I'd say they're about a mile. It's like so it's like a square, obviously,
But each side of the square is a mile.
each side is about a mile, and you can take like a tour, or you can just go yourself and go up the steps and then pay for a service for a bicycle and then ride along it. And when you ride
Oh,
along
what? So
it,
you can walk along the top of the wall.
yeah, that's
Oh,
how
that's
high
cool.
and that's how sort of like wide the walkways are. And
Wow.
yeah, so you can cycle, and you got to obviously stick to the left hand side because there's a fair bit of sort of traffic, not too much, but there's a lot of people doing it. But it's nice, and it's a really good way of seeing. You'll do that mile stretch, and you're looking left or right. And when you're looking left, you're looking at sort of where you come from, and when you look right, you're looking into the what's inside the square. So after a while, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get off this bike and actually look inside the square. That was fun, but I'm gonna look inside the square, and it was just epic. It was just I think I've
Was it
described this to
different
you
from
before.
the inside of the square was different from, as in the city inside was very different from the city outside?
Yeah, kind of. It was like
Okay.
you know how I was with you in a city once, and I described it as being like, it was a little bit like a dystopia sort of Judge Dredd feel, where you got these really cool futuristic tall buildings, but they're a little bit grubby looking, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
neon lights,
Yeah.
and then it rains and it's warm and everything. It just reminds you a little bit
And
of
then it makes the floor smell like bin.
yeah, it's very Blade Runner sort of, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like that, but it was even more epic. And here's the difference between South China and this place. There was just there were just better attitudes. People would just seem to be more friendly. That South China has this problem where there's a vibe where I've told you before, I guess, where a lot of people in South China have kind of migrated from other areas in China. So there's a lot of
Oh.
disconnect from family culture, and they tend to, I don't know, sort of treat people worse for that reason. But Xi'an is, I'm assuming, I saw all age ranges, so it didn't look like a sort of migrant town. And for that reason, I think people were just a lot more sort of respectful
And
and
did they look after the city more?
yeah, definitely.
Oh. Oh,
Didn't
that's
see many of
nice.
those sort of trademark stereotype things that you and I have seen and talked about. I say it's trademark, but the bad stereotypes that you sometimes come across in China. But it just yeah, it didn't happen, and they're really friendly, and yeah, it was just a good time. And I have to say that the weather just treated me a bit better, and I think you also found South China was a bit too uncomfortably humid, but this is
Nearly unbearable. So humid.
yeah, and it's just drier. It's like 3 degrees, 5 degrees lower, and it's drier, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a little bit like Greece in the summer or something. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So
Oh,
that
that's
was
pretty
kind of
cool.
nice. That was a nice
Yeah.
change.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think well, I know what you mean about like the dystopia side of South China and some of the places there. It's like I think the heat doesn't help because the heat makes any bad or dodgy smell so much worse. So if you're in a
Yeah,
busy, crowded like city, going through like a meat market or a fishmonger's area, and it's like it's it comes on quite strong.
Yeah.
And it's crowded and busy and noisy, and yeah, you add on to that like the lack of, I guess it's a lack of ownership of people in that area because everyone's new to it. No one's like home, and like you say, a lot of people moved away from their families, so maybe they just I don't know, lose that family connection.
Mm.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because the way you're describing it, because I went to Japan. You'll remember I went a couple of years ago for a few days,
Yeah.
and when I was there, I was like, oh my god, if only, like, this is like, it's like China in many ways, like so many similarities with China in
Mm.
terms of like lots of the types of food and lots of the types of things that go on there. But it was like China, but if they'd really, like, people had been forced to look after it.
Which city were you talking about? So this should be your review now. I've done my 5 minutes.
No,
How
no,
about how
well,
about
no, maybe we can talk about Japan another time. But I
okay.
think, but that's what you're describing of Xi'an is
Mm.
how I think I found parts of Japan.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, we're definitely still in Asia. This is definitely an Asian city, but it's really well kept, maintained, looked after. It's tidy. The people are super friendly.
Yeah.
Whereas actually in South China, I've got the people aren't the people aren't so friendly. It's not they're rude, but they they don't.
Yeah.
It's not the same vibe.
There's just a bit too much industry, I think, in South China, which leaves yeah, it leaves
Everyone's
this
hustling. Everyone is hustling.
yeah, yeah. Whereas
That's
in,
one
in
thing about South China.
whereas in Xi'an, although part of this was tourism, we're in restaurants and they're just really friendly. They're not expecting to, but they're just really friendly. Um,
Hmm.
and talking about restaurants, the food was generally pretty ace. Tend to eat a bit more bread up there,
All right, cool.
rather than rice. Yeah, so there's a lot more, s- still spicy, but yeah, bread
Spicy,
involvement.
spicy bread. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
And
yeah,
so you spent a week there, and actually the thing that was
mm,
your least favorite thing was the reason you went,
pretty much.
which
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
to see the Terracotta Army. Well, that's amazing. That's a great trip. If you've done that, that's so cool. The thing you went to go see was like the worst thing you did while you're there,
I
and everything
know.
else is better. That's like, yeah, you don't get that very often.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, and I guess that's why I felt like reviewing this, and it's quite clearly a positive review. I would, if we're
Is it friendly for? I mean, you speak like some Chinese. How easy is it if you were just an American, Australian, Brit, or European going over there? Sorry, Brits are Europeans, but
um yeah, it's no easier than it is in South China. It might be a little worse actually, a little harder.
mm,
Um, it's a strange one because you'd think again because of tourism. I guess obviously if you're aiming at airport hotels and the terracotta soldiers, those areas, sure, you're gonna get by fine because it's touristy. But in the
do you
street where I
remember?
was, not so
Sorry, go
much.
ahead.
In the within the square of those walls, that
Uh-huh.
awesome place I was kind of describing,
Uh,
where everyone's
and
just
why
like
was it?
getting on
Sorry,
stuff.
go tell me again. Why was that place? Why was the square bit so good? I think we got off track there. Like, what was so good
Yeah,
about it?
it was
What's so
just
different
that
about that on the outside?
it was just that it's a strange thing to describe, but it was that Judge Dredd vibe and the Blade Runner vibe. It was just
What on the inside?
seeing, yes, in this inside of the square. I guess it was a bit, it felt cozy because there's walls all around you,
Mhm.
and it was almost like sounds weird. It was almost like Zion inside in the Matrix.
Right,
There was
but
this
you liked
little,
it. It was still
yeah,
nice.
there was this massive community inside a place where you wouldn't expect, and there was still daylight, but I mean, it was just not. You wouldn't think it was there, and they're all just sort of drinking their milk teas, eating food, walking around shopping malls and things like that. Uh, and it's just really lively and just nice. Yeah, it's just not what I expected at all. But yes, it was a lot of energy, but just positive energy inside this.
I've just googled some photos of it. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
Xi'an.
Yeah, so highly recommend it when and if people get the chance soonish, I guess, to
I was going to say, do you remember when I visited you during work
yeah.
and we found that device in a shop that could translate Chinese to English.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah, yeah.
handheld communicator thing. So you speak into it, and then
Mm,
it'll speak out the
yeah,
translation of Chinese, and it'll show you the text in English to make
yeah.
sure that it's understood you properly.
Mm.
How good was that? I think if you're, why don't we have
Pretty
that in the
awesome, yeah.
UK? We don't need it in
And
the UK.
I'm assuming that it didn't require internet. Is that right?
I can't
Or
remember
do you
what he said
remember?
now. I don't remember. He said it
Maybe
would run off Wi-Fi. Most places have Wi-Fi,
true. Yeah, that's
or you
true.
just toggle it to your, tether it to your phone. But it was so clever. It was like
Yeah,
so much smoother than using Google Translate. It was like a, I don't know, it was like a more convenient version of that.
I'd hope it is easier than using Google Earth.
Google Earth. Yeah, yeah, that's a long way
Yeah.
around to communicate anything. But yeah, yeah, if you were thinking to visit China, you could find out one of those. Like go into any gadget
Mm.
store and see if they got one of those things. I mean, by the time you go out there, they'll have one that's like twice as good as the one that I saw, but it was really good. It was like $20, $20, something like that. It was so cheap. I don't
Yeah,
know why I
yeah,
didn't buy it in
about
the end.
that.
Actually, I think I was just
I
being a tight ass.
I expect that technology is going to improve massively as well. And that was what? How many years ago was that? 3, maybe?
It was when I was still in the military. Yeah, yeah, about 3 years ago.
I don't know,
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, and that technology must have improved or be going to be. So yeah, it was good. I remember him showing the demo. Yeah, it was pretty good.
But yeah, you could use that and go up there, and we'd be fine.
Yeah, and to be honest, if people do go there, if you can get hold of that device, that would be great. But in the meantime, if you can get hold of a Lonely Planet book or download, just at least download the Mandarin Chinese simplified library on your Google Translate, so that you don't have to keep connecting to the internet. That would help you enough to get
Mhm.
by if you're on your own and you don't speak Chinese. But yeah, anyway, I'd give this place a strong. You know what? Yeah, I'd give it a strong 4 out of 5.
Would you go back? Would you do a second trip there?
I would, but there's always that feeling that returning to a place, won't be quite as good.
Yeah,
Um, but I would. There's other places I want to go to before I do that though.
that's the thing, isn't it? There's always somewhere else.
Yeah,
You're always like, well, should I go back to a place even though I really enjoyed it, or should I keep pressing on and seeing new places that I've never been before?
the latter, definitely the
that's
latter.
the
Whilst, yeah, I think. But
what you can. Yeah, not that
absolutely.
either of us have been traveling for the past year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, right. Well, I think that's about it.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks guys for listening in, and send us please a cheeky like and subscribe. And if you liked anything that we talked about, or you have any comments about those things or suggestions for us to sort of crack onto next time, yeah, leave a comment and let us know.
If you can tell me why the Flash had to go back in time, I'd appreciate it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or why Aquaman didn't use a stupid water bubble, and why Wonder Woman hates that building so much she decided to blow it up.
That was strange.
It's weird when you think about that. That one scene is really weird. Anyway, let's
Mm.
not go back there. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yep.
Have a good week, and bye for now.
Yeah. Bye bye.